I pulled a small pear from a tree overhanging the acequia. It clung fiercely to its branch, a hard green fist to the end of August. The same fear of loss that led me to pick it before its time. I did it for the sheer pleasure of grubbing, that seasoned instinct to fill my beast with everything that would soon make that end of summer cliff dive to the maker. It was then that I thought of you. I remembered your easy way with those who also feared the waning trickle of summer and watched the monsoons fade like the end of a 1970s love song in swirls of awe and regret and repeated hopes. Your voice was a hymn that rose and knelt over roots and washboarded roads, sang corridos of las acequias that flow beneath the hardscape and the heartbreak of the ancestors' dreams. You were those wild sunflowers and asters, the last colors of you convincing all the dying that abundance believed is received. I believed it too, when I bit through the first flesh of the pear, all chalk and bone. Your smile was the old shoreless Rio Grande, your long teeth that clawed the softness of grace, the muddy sugar of decay. Sometimes endings are rotten. And when the river's gone, we are islands of everything that fell, trying to get downstream of ourselves. The rot was the only sweetness that pear offered. But it reminds me of the first water that laughed behind trees and crept shy but eager into adolescent fields, of late summer kisses in yellow corners, and the floodplains you left behind. Thank you. The time for planting is here, and the season for restoration work in the bosque ending to make way for the symphonic convergence, the avian rituals of dating and mating conducted in the bosque each year. With both, I now spend a portion of each day at the river or walking the acequias in the middle Rio Grande Valley. My work often brings me to these beautiful places, but I'm there because I couldn't imagine life without them. The irrigation ditches are flowing again, marking the entrance of spring to the valley. On evening walks, I've begun to see neighbors and tractors or shoveling old furrows and turnouts. Fields were transformed from brown to green within the span of a week, but another dry winter has taken its toll. Yes, ditches are dusty could be the new slogan adopted. I wash a pair of jeans a few times a week and my running shoes lost any hint of color long ago, but I never complained. What a rare blessing as an urban dweller to be able to walk on the earth every day. Everything comes in pairs now, and I've learned to look at our changing landscape and water supply with a paired vision. Every acequia I walk has a duck couple claiming their space, heads alternating below the water. Great cottonwoods are a bacchanalia of grape-like seeds surrounded by the confetti of the invasive Siberian elm seeds peppering the water. The first water in the 4-acre lateral that runs through my backyard arrived and departed as I returned home from work, leaving a muddy map of its travels high in the ditch. Tight water supplies necessitate rotating water between ditches, and I wonder and worry how the trees and other creatures will adapt, and what new plants may appear and thrive with the changes. When I stepped around the knobby feet of an old cottonwood, I smiled, thinking about visiting my sweet spots on a few North Valley ditches where I plucked pears, jujubes, apples, plums, rose hips in the late summer. But now, most of the colors on my ditch are the seemingly constant addition of graffiti from local kids. When I feel annoyed, I remember that I'm happy our young people still wander their curves to school or the park and visit friends as they have for hundreds of years. Certainly, they wouldn't love these places more, or perhaps at all, in their absence. I smile again, thinking of the day I see a neighbor pick fruit from one of my trees. At the Rio Grande, I walked through a large opening created by a bosque fire. The ground sputtered and snapped, alerting a crow who trumpeted my intrusion. At the river's bank, I spotted a lingering sandhill crane couple waiting, still here at the end of March. Two geese surprised the cranes with a noisy landing only a few feet away. The cranes squawked their staccato displeasure for a minute, but quickly moved over and made room. The Rio Grande has historically been regenerated by spring floods. But while the rushing high water of spring signals a spawn, the productive areas are where the river breaks from a jitterbug to a slow tango. There in the clay, I found algae and other plants, tiny fish pulsing in small waves, and a library of tracks. There, with the quiet water in mind, I learned that muddy water still carries the sky. The river stretches across its bed, a blanket trying to cover all of its children. I'm always amazed at how the river moves around, over and through obstacles without complaint. But at some point, in some places, its depth and momentum are too thin, and the Rio folds itself into ribbons to continue its journey. The Rio Grande is flowing somewhere, even when absent from our limited human senses. Will we also be a river? Thank you.